Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. One thing I really like about my fast cooking system, with the 4 attributes in flavor chasing, advanced prepping, stir frying, and template-based cooking, is that my home cooking is always a work in progress, and I know I will continue to make changes and make improvements over the rest of my life. And that's what makes home cooking such a wonderful activity. It is something more like a journey rather than just to achieve a particular goal. In this video, I would like to demonstrate to you the development of a technique how to cook salmon over the past several years. The primary reason for this development is because the love of salmon by my wife, and she really enjoys it. And I want to find a way to cook the salmon to achieve both the convenience as well as the flavor that she loves. As consequently, over the past couple years, I've been working on a technique that to cook salmon in such a way, first of all, is that I'm able to cook them more quickly. And secondly, is to cook them more evenly to achieve the type of flavor that we are looking for. I discovered the best way to cook salmon is actually rather than cook them in a single piece, but to cut them up into smaller pieces. There are a couple advantages in this approach. One is that it will allow them to cook faster. And secondly, if I cut them into pieces of about even thickness, I will be able to cook them more evenly. So now each time when I purchase salmon and bring them to the house, I will cut them up first, and I will freeze them in small packages. And this method will allow me to store them, and then when I'm ready to eat them, all I have to do is to put them in a bowl of warm water, and this will allow me to thaw them out readily. And using this method, I can buy a big piece of salmon, obviously at a better price, and then prep them in such a way will allow me to have salmon anytime I want. Okay, now let's get into the kitchen, and I'm going to demonstrate to you how I use this technique to cook salmon. I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons of canola oil in my Cuisinart 14-inch stainless steel wok. I like this wok a great deal because it has a relatively large flat surface area, which is about 9 inches across. This will allow me to use it like a small frying pan. And in this exercise, I'm going to pan fry the salmon first. So it is nice to have a large flat surface area so that I can lay out the salmon pieces on the surface. I'm going to season wok using my spot seasoning method to create a non-stick cook surface. Basically, I heat up the oil and let it smoke for about 15 seconds, and this is the time when the wok is being seasoned to create a non-stick cook surface. As you will find out in the rest of the video, this method is very effective because the salmon do not stick to the surface of the wok at all. The salmon pieces that I purchase always come with a skin, so the first step I do is that I use a pair of tongs to lay out the salmon pieces on the surface of the wok with the skin side down. Now this is very important because I want to cook the skin first and to create a crispy texture on the surface of the skin. Until recently, we do not like the skin of the salmon because they tend to be rather fatty, and we find that it is unpleasant to eat. So quite often we will remove the salmon skin. However, we realize skin of many meat that if it is properly cooked to its crispy texture could be delicious and tasty. And we decided we're going to give it a try with the salmon skin. We make 2 adjustments in this cooking method. First is to use as little oil as possible, and secondly is to set the heat at high. And the results turn out very well because there are a small amount of oil as well as the high heat. It causes the salmon skin to char very rapidly. And by cutting the salmon into smaller pieces, it also allowed them to cook much quicker. It took about 60 to 90 seconds to char the salmon skin to create a crispy texture. And you also notice that the amount of oil in the wok has increased because of the oil that are driven out from the skin of the salmon. Salmon is a fatty fish, and the skin from the salmon contain a great deal of fat, which serves as an insulation for the fish. But this skin is also rich in omega-3 fatty acid, which has great nutritional value. By now, the salmon is done. The next step is to finish cooking the salmon by adding other ingredients to this stir-fry dish. I'm going to start out with some jalapeno pepper, and then I'm going to follow with some portobello mushroom. Now, there's a reason for adding mushroom to this dish, because mushroom has a tendency to absorb oil readily, and this will actually capture the oil that are being released from the salmon. Therefore, we can retain some of the nutritional value in the omega-3 fatty acid that are present in the salmon. As you can see here, as soon as I add the mushroom, the oil in the wok greatly depleted because the mushroom start to soak up the oil. The mushroom also have another important function because it buffers the temperature of the wok, so it prevents the salmon from overcooking. And the stir-frying process will distribute the heat evenly, so it will allow the salmon to cook slowly to its finished form. By now, the dish is almost done. I then add some colored bell pepper to garnish the dish. Just a few additional stirring and mixing, the dish is ready to be served. Next, I add a small amount of oyster sauce to flavor the dish. Of course, you can flavor the dish any way you want. You can serve the dish as it is if you like. But I find adding the oyster sauce will add umami flavor to the dish to make the dish more interesting. Sometimes I will add just a touch of hot sesame oil that also provide great taste for the salmon. This now has become the preferred method for us to cook salmon. The primary reason is that the salmon skin truly is delicious because of the crisping due to the frying. And you will find that using this method, you will enjoy the salmon much more than before. The method do not overcook the salmon at all. It keeps the salmon nice, moist, and tender inside. But the outside, it provides that crispy texture and that additional culinary experience for enjoying the salmon. To make the dish more interesting, I also garnish the salmon with some fresh tomatoes. Again, it's up to your imagination what you can add to the final product of this dish. Lastly, I'm going to put some scallions over it. Last but not least, I add a small touch of a sweet chili sauce to give the dish a mild chili flavor. But the most important part of this dish is to create that crispy texture on the surface of the salmon's skin, and that will give you that great culinary experience of eating this salmon. I post a video each day to help you to make home cooking as part of your daily routine using my fast cooking system that will make your cooking practical, efficient, creative, and fun. If you'd like to learn more about my fast cooking system, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. So keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.